We now turn to the head of the Victims and Witness Support Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Margaret Brown, who's a former student of ours, in fact, the social work unit, and whom we are always pleased to see rise to such heights in society. So Margaret, come and tell us what you have to say. May I ask you to turn your phones off, please? I think, Margaret, you left yours on there.
Good morning, Dr. Watson. Good morning, persons present here. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm listening to Dr. Gabrielle Hosein, and I would affectionately call her Gabby because in 1991, 1992, when I was a student here, I came here just to visit. I was just 5 years old because I've seen some of your calculators in your head going. I met Gabby and her passion has not died. And that's what we're talking about, the passion. Today, I want to talk about what exists. And as a member of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service for the past 42 years, when I retired in 2011, and then in 2011, the then Commissioner of Police, Dr. Dwayne Gibbs, formulated the Victim and Witness Support Unit. And that was in direct response to issues affecting domestic violence and sexual abuse. And those were the two components upon which the officers of the Victim and Witness Support Unit had to respond to. In 2011, we just had about 6 officers, and to be a Victim and Witness Support Unit officer, you had to be first a civilian, or police who was a police and now a civilian. And so the Victim and Witness Support Unit officers are not police officers, and we are not an NGO. We come directly under the Commissioner of Police, so that the Victim and Witness Support Unit is a component, a crime-fighting initiative of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, of which I have the honor to lead. In 2011, I want to say to you that we increased our staff from 6 to 14, and we still have 14, so our way forward is critical, and the only way we can go forward, if all of us here put our hands to the wheel, both hands to the wheel, and move forward. I want to tell you that between 2005 and 2015, almost 300 women have been murdered as a result of domestic violence. 300. The highest being in 2010, in 2006, sorry, we had 33 women murdered. Second was in 2010, 26 women were murdered. When the Act came out in 1991 to present, we have well over 500 women being murdered. And those statistics must inform our practice. I want to tell you, as the Victim and Witness Support Unit, what are our roles and functions, what exists, what is happening for victims and witnesses of crime. And the definition of us is that we had to respond to all victims and witnesses of crime, more so domestic violence, because domestic violence is an umbrella term. Coming under that umbrella is every offense committed against a victim, both male and female. And because the Act tends to lean towards women, people feel there is a presumption or perception that the Domestic Violence Act and Domestic Violence Act affect only women. I want to tell you that as the manager of the Victim and Witness Support, men have been coming to us screaming because there are issues of domestic violence in their home affecting them. A man walked into a particular station and made a report, and one would think that a 6-footer coming to make a report that his wife is harassing him. So one would expect, one would suspect the kind of response that he got. But the Victim and Witness Support officers were able to respond. And when the guy opened his chest, what the wife did is she plugged in the heater and stamped on his chest the impression of the electric iron. We have men who cannot touch their salaries. Men who, when they go home, they would go in, the wife or the girlfriend or the common law, whatever, would go into their phone and dial everybody and use some strong construction languages to the individuals. We know that. But we also know that our women and our children who process violence differently are suffering silently. And we only have to look at the recent video, and everybody is very emotive about the video from a particular division in San Fernando, in Central. But you see, the physical aspect of domestic violence is the last round. For years, you would have gone through the psychological aspect, the financial aspect, the emotional aspect, and one believes that it is not happening because I can accept that. I can deal with that. In the past, when women go to work with their eyes bruised, we thought that fridges had arms because they would always bounce the fridge or roll down the step. But now the personal has become political by reason of the various organizations speaking out about domestic violence. The Victim and Witness Support Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police renders aid to all victims of crime, more so our victims or women victims of domestic violence, 25 hours a day to support them through their crisis, because women are in crisis in respect of domestic violence. So once you make a report, or you don't have to make a report, there's an AVA project that we are doing where we are meeting, addressing victims anywhere, the acronym AVA. So wherever, in the mall, in the store, wherever, because sometimes your home, where you're supposed to have some peace and serenity, is where all the pain is occurring. We have to go in schools and deal with children. Why do you think some of the children are behaving the way they're behaving? When you do the processing or you do the social investigation, you know that it starts from home. So home has now become a prison for some of our women and our children and our men. And as we sit here as persons interested and have a deep passion to assist Dr. Hosein and Professor Watson and so on, it's not sufficient to take the notes and when we leave here, put it in our presentation and we get A+. We have to work together and support our sisters and our brothers. Because sometimes when we see a situation, it becomes juicy news. We discuss it over a ritual coffee, and we discuss it over a Big Mac. But that same person needs your support. From 2015 to 2005 to 2015, we had various levels. In 2012, we had 2,337 persons who dare to come to the police and say, I am a victim of domestic violence. How many of us go through that for years and years and scared to come, don't know how to come, can't afford to come, shame to come, because if they come, their friends or their family would not give them the support. So the whole issue of domestic violence rests upon how we respond to the many efforts that the University of the West Indies and all the NGOs and whatever they are doing. It's not sufficient that 5 women could talk about it. It's sufficient that 500,000 citizens of Trinidad and Tobago have a passion to help and to help those who are unable to help themselves. Notwithstanding that we may have a big house and 2 BMWs, it's not sufficient that I can get in it and drive and feel that may be the only time that I have a moment of peace. So when we sit and we make judgment of perhaps or why, there are many reasons why women stay in domestic violence situation. We have to understand why they stay and have an appreciation that how we come together, both hands in the wheel, to help. The victim and witness support officers will go wherever they are, through the investigative system, through the application for the protection order, through whatever. We are here to support you. We have applied on behalf of a victim who for 7 years could not go from one room to the other without being the recipient of the finest KA she would ever get. The 7-year-old child hand was broken 2 or 3 times, and she couldn't even take him to the doctor. To get her out of the house, we have to find some non-traditional ways to put her in a safe home. And to get her to the safe home, to the court, to apply for a protection order, she wouldn't even come off the bed. So as a social worker who's under, as the law says that we could apply for a protection order, we apply for a protection order so that she would be able to come to the court. The perpetrator applied for custody. I don't want the children, not custody access. I just want to see the children. But we know the end result of that. So the same day that he had the access hearing, we served him because the Domestic Violence Act says that we could serve him on the very day of the hearing. On that day, we got a 3-year protection order. She is safe now, but how safe is safe? How do we define safe? Because many women would have lost their life because they applied for a protection order. The Mayaro person, both her eyes were gouged out on her way from the court. The situation in Valsain, she was hacked to death. She already applied for a protection order. So the protection order doesn't really help in a way. It's an opening. It's one of the corridors that you can use to get some support. The support will have to be from all of us, understanding where we are, knowing where we want to be, and helping our victims and our children. Children possess pain different than the adults. What a child would come to you, a child came to us, the neighbor, and that's a key word in domestic violence, neighbors. Neighbors who feel it's an MTV movie and an MSB, that they can stay in the house and feel comfortable because it's not happening to me. But there are some very good neighbors. And the neighbor reported that she hearing this 6-year-old child crying. And she made the report. When we took the child, 6 years, the child feces couldn't stay in his anus. It was falling out because the father was sexually abusing. So don't feel it's children are good, children alone. Our males are also in crisis. 6 years. How do we process that? How would a 5-year-old accept oral sex? How would a 5-year-old, how do we process that as adults? How when we go home, what do we say to our children? What example do we set? What do we say to our student, our next door neighbor? What do we say to them? So that all of us could lend some support to the domestic violence. Dr. Hosein and Dr. Watson could only do this much. We here could only do this much. The Victim and Witness Support Unit could do so much. But if all of us come together, like one drop of ink on a blotting paper, we can spread things. We can help things. We don't need a mayor. We need a deep set of conscious awareness to help Trinidad and Tobago. I know my 3 minutes now, but I want to stop because I want to let her ask the question. I can stay here and talk for 2 days, and don't stop, but I want Ole to ask the question, and I will tell you, I will bring the answer for you tomorrow. So God bless you.